Is Will Muschamp the next Bill Belichick? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Power Five. Every team, breaking down the personnel, giving you our outlook, advanced metrics, statistics, the complete outlook, and our predictions as well. So you go into the comment section as well, because I want to see your predictions. And for this video, of course, it's South Carolina. They finished second in the SEC Eastern Division last year at 9-4 after a bowl win. A upset of Michigan, 26-19. I did say Muschamp and Belichick, right? You weren't going to let that slide. Okay, what I mean here is Bill Belichick, at one point in his head coaching career, and many of you too young to have lived through this, with the Cleveland Browns after being a defensive genius with the New York Giants winning 2 Super Bowls. He went to the Cleveland Browns as head coach, and it looked like this wasn't really the position for him early on. He did not handle the news media. He did not present himself well. Maybe he still doesn't, but he didn't present himself well, and he looked like a coordinator. He acted like a coordinator, and the results were coordinator-esh. Bill Belichick adjusted. He became a great head coach, maybe the greatest of all time. Will Muschamp, I'm not going to elevate him to the greatest of all time status quite yet after one good season in South Carolina. But it's gone in Columbia from 3 wins to 6 to 9. The next steps are going to be very difficult, of course, because they don't have the great talent in the SEC. But Will Muschamp may be showing us that he can be a head coach. He's hired offensive coordinator Brian McClendon, who actually has been promoted to replace Kurt Roper, and an offensive game plan that most Carolina fans have just been all in a tizzy about, it being just not creative, not very well thought out or delivered. So we got Brian McClendon in play. His job is to develop quarterback Jake Bentley, 62% last year, 18 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 3 of the 4 losses that South Carolina suffered, Bentley threw at least 2 picks. He throws interceptions, they lose. Quarterback depth is led by Dacrion Joyner. I believe I pronounced that correctly. We will see him on the field probably in 2 years, barring injury. 8th best dual threat quarterback in the nation, according to 247 Sports. Right. The offense is rated low across the board coming into 2018 based on the 2017 totals and the guys that were lost, or basically, most of the guys were kept on the roster, did not leave. Hayden Hurst, a big loss, though. An explosive offense, not consistent. Success rate, not good. Points per pass, not good. Or points per possession, I should say, if I can read my notes. Points per possession, not good for South Carolina. 88th rated offense, according to the advanced Bill Connelly SB Nation metrics last year. All right, they got running backs, though. Rico Dowdle, 380 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Turner, 531 and 3 touchdowns. Tyson Williams had 471 and 5 yards per carry. So Rico Dowdle won the job. Then he got hurt. He got nicked up. He didn't play great. A.J. Turner was the guy. We didn't see Dowdle until the bowl game then. Tyson Williams was kind of around the entire time and finished just 60 yards behind Turner as the leader in rushing. All right, the guy we all do know and know the deal on him is Deebo Samuel. Return specialist to the point where he returned 2 kicks in 3 games for touchdowns. He only returned 2 kickoffs. I'm speaking the truth. He returned 2 kickoffs last year, and they both went for touchdowns, and so then opponents stopped kicking to Deebo Samuel. So what that creates is field position if South Carolina plays it right. So they keep him back there. He hardly ever gets a chance, but they start at the 35 and the 32 and the 42 and, short kicks out of bounds. Deebo Samuel scored 6 touchdowns in 3 games. Unfortunately, that was the end of his season. He'll be back. Brian Edwards is back as well. 64 catches, 5 touchdowns. He's been in South Carolina and on the field making plays since day one against Vandy on a Thursday night, his freshman season. Or Trey Smith, 30 catches, 3 touchdowns. Shi Smith, 29 and 3. They will factor into the passing game as well. Hayden Hurst, I mentioned him. Tremendous athlete, taken in the second round of the NFL draft. He's gone. They got to find a tight end to replace, and probably won't replace Hayden Hurst, but a productive tight end who blocks first in the running game, catches and passes. The offensive line, 6 of 9 that started a game are back, including their best player, all-SEC center Donnell Stanley. All right, let's talk the defense. A ton of production and playmakers gone. Sky Moore, we know what he accomplished at South Carolina despite missing one season and then coming back. He was a playmaker deluxe for this defense. Going back to the Steve Spurrier 11-win teams, that's how far back Sky Moore goes in a 5-year career. Well, all those guys are gone. Bunch of them are gone. DJ Wanham with 13 tackles for loss and 6 sacks on the defensive line back, as well as Daniel Fennell, 5.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. All right, focus on recruiting here up front, because after these two guys, basically you're going to look into the 2017 and 18 classes to supplement the production there and the bodies up front. At linebacker, not necessarily the case. They've got a couple that in T.J. Brunson with 88 tackles and Bryson Allen Williams, who are really good players, and they're back. Rashad Fenton, the only returning defensive back. 3 transfers, including Texas A&M's Nick Harvey, will supplement the losses in the defensive backfield. I'm starting to rethink my prediction here, but because these defensive problems could really hurt this football team, and the offense is not going to be that explosive. All right, Parker White, 10 of 11, less than 40 yards, 4 of 14 from 40 plus, so he needs to work on the leg strength, apparently. All right, the schedule. Texas A&M and at Ole Miss, those are the SEC Western Division games. All right, otherwise it's Georgia Week 2, and that most people would believe would be the one shot at anyone defeating Georgia and upsetting the Bulldogs to gain the East. Would be South Carolina at home against Georgia Week 2. They always play early, almost always play early in the season, and the Gamecocks obviously have to win that game. You can't imagine them coming back from basically a 2-game deficit to win the division if they don't get the upset there. They win that, maybe they win the East. I don't expect them to beat Georgia even at home. Then I expect them to lose some other games anyway. Between the likes of Florida and others on the schedule in the East, I think they drop one of those games. They do have to travel to Gainesville. That could be a loss. Texas A&M could be a loss as well. South Carolina loses 3 times. They win 5. They go 8-4 with a loss to Clemson to close out the season. Now, if Clemson had to travel to Columbia, I would give it that much thought for an upset. But Clemson is the much better team still. South Carolina, a top 35-40 team. Clemson, a top 3 team. All right, Gamecocks, 8-4, 5-3 in the SEC. It must sound familiar, but that's what it is. All right, would love to see your prediction. Leave it in the comments section. And also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Got to jump on this one. Send your email to MarkRogersTV at Gmail, and we will send you each and every Monday stats, trends, and facts from around college football that you're not going to see anywhere else. And then also a take and a perspective from me on the weekend's play and a channel update right here at MarkRogersTV, voice of college football.